We have never been better equipped to solve the climate crisis, but the world needs climate action from everyone and everywhere all at once. So said Antonio Guterres, the Secretary of the UN, and he's not kidding. This is us, this is where we're heading, but need to get down there fast. So, why aren't we when the future of everyone is at stake? Because we're all busy chasing this. Can you see the fault lines here? Who can blame us for turning a blind eye to the darkening horizon of impending doom when we can't survive 1 week to the next without this? It's money that holds the key to your personal freedom and mine. Yet this same thing is taking us to hell. In case you didn't know, we're in the midst of an existential crisis, yet not only do we still have an economy that feeds this threat and is charging in the completely wrong direction, but it disparages the truth of what's happening all across our planet. And the reason for all of this, and more, is the simple little formula tied up in here. You see, money is, and always has been, designed around and exclusive to our labour and skill, without ever taking stock of the environmental costs that go into the making of things. In other words, it's detached from nature. But are we not nature? We breathe in oxygen and bleed. Are we not made of flesh and water, with millions of microorganisms teeming inside us that we depend on to process food into energy, to repair us, to make us live? Yet rather than acknowledge this, the laws of physics, of life, the competitiveness of capitalism, locked in money, is uncoupling us from nature, as we've allowed it to go beyond the boundaries of science and feed our imagination and desires in the name of growth. We poison and pollute both earth and sea while pumping emissions high into the air in order to manufacture goods it then encourages us to buy, whether that be for a thrill, our needs, or pointless petty tat. But worse still, it does this without informing us of the reality, i.e. the damage we've caused when we make these purchases. So, if we are to stop our climate and society from imminent collapse, the buck stops here. It's time to change this simple little formula into something smarter, fairer, and a force for the good. Being the 5th video in this series now, you'll no doubt be familiar with the theory I'm trying to pitch: how we must press governments to urgently shift to digital payments, as it enables us to ditch the universal fixed rate of tax for a variable kind that we can then peg to the sustainability of brands to give business something to bite, and thus kickstart corporations to design, make, and implement ways to save the planet as they inevitably strive to seek that one goal they're programmed for: profit. Not sit around and wait for government subsidies, which happens to be paid for by you and I, the taxpayer, and only politicians get to decide, making it prime for backhanders. You remember what happened in the pandemic and PPE. But to turn sustainability into a financial value, businesses must be made accountable and tracked, which I will come to. But before opening those threads, it's necessary to underline why and how that rate of tax must be displayed openly in the market. You see, democracy and the marketplace are as entwined as the DNA that makes us. They are the twin processes for how we exercise our ambitions, our will. Yet for either to flourish, it's essential to have them open and transparent. The more they are, the more efficient each is in taking us where we want to go. And therein lays the problem. For despite the many flaws of our current state of democracy, it is at least open to climate change, whereas the market is not, and never has been. It's a closed book, as it contains neither the correct signalling to convey the harm we're doing, nor incentives to spur any of us to action. And worst of all, it's allowed to deliberately deceive us. And that spills over at a cultural level, creating this delusionary make-believe world that everything is going to be okay so long as we retain faith and keep working away for this little formula. So who do you believe in? This or the scientists and what's happening across our planet right now? Now, while injecting sustainability into money serves the task of enlisting everyone, everywhere, and all at once to fight back against climate change, creating that critical mass we desperately need. To keep tax incentives subtle and not rock the boat, the signalling will need to rise that above a financial value. and become entrenched at a higher conscious and cultural level too. And that entails applying a label alongside the price to break through this wall of ignorance so businesses can no longer hide the truth. You see, transactions are uncannily similar to voting, only instead of channeling politicians to power, it's business. And businesses are becoming more powerful than states. And each business we elect to invest in shapes more than our lives in terms of the goods we buy, as it molds societies and the environments too, by how those goods were made and sourced and the pollution they emit. Therefore, given we're a democracy, it's only right, our right, to know how good or bad they are. Because climate change and all its ills isn't just affecting our health and wealth and well-being, but our security too. Which means without sustainability being priced in and displayed, all of us are carving our own fate blindly. Every day we click on the mouse, shop and trade. And thus, wouldn't it be common bloody sense to steer our economy with eyes wide open? So to correct this and create the kind of world we want and reverse this rampant destruction taking place all across our planet, what's needed is what I term a consumer enlightenment. And I'll be going into that in the next video. For whether we like it or not, we have to accept we are a market society now. Please like, subscribe and share.